The owner of a failed restaurant allowed a homeless man and his daughter to spend the night in his establishment during a storm. But when he arrived the next day, he was surprised by what the man had done. Amidst the chaos of a bustling metropolis, William, a 34-year-old man, and his young daughter Kimberly, only 8 years old, found themselves helpless after a series of turbulent events in their lives. With nowhere to go, they faced the harsh reality of the streets. On a cold and stormy night, with cutting wind, they desperately wandered the drenched streets, searching for any shelter against the relentless rain. They wore only thin t-shirts and worn-out pants, completely inadequate for the weather they were facing. That's when they spotted, at the end of a dimly lit street, a small, cozy-looking restaurant called Main Street Cafe. Pushing the door, which creaked slightly, William entered with Kimberly, hoping only to escape the rain, not knowing they were about to change their destinies. Inside the restaurant, the air was filled with the gentle aroma of coffee and freshly baked bread, a comforting blend that seemed to wrap William and Kimberly in a warm embrace after the chill of the storm outside. The restaurant was modest, with worn wooden tables and chairs that told stories of countless customers who had passed through. Sitting at a table near the counter, William tried to warm Kimberly, rubbing her small hands between his while he looked around, hoping the owner or someone would appear. At that moment, Elliot, the owner, emerged from the kitchen. He was a man with soft traces of aging, and his eyes reflected a kindness that was rare in that city of often cold hearts. Upon seeing William and Kimberly, his expression of surprise quickly turned into one of concern. "You're soaked. Come, sit here by the heater," Elliot said, pointing to a table in the corner that was within the comforting reach of the heat emanating from the kitchen. William, with Kimberly by his side, walked to the indicated table, thanking with a nod. They sat down, and Elliot promptly brought 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate, placing them in front of them with a welcoming smile. "Thank you," William said, his eyes meeting Elliot's. We're a bit lost tonight. Would you mind if we stayed here until the rain lets up, just until we're a bit drier?" Elliot looked at William and then at Kimberly, who was trying to warm her small hands on the hot mug. The scene touched Elliot's heart, a man who had seen many winters and knew well the cruelty they could bring. "Of course you can stay here. This place is yours for as long as you need," replied Elliot with a firmness that left no room for doubt. "And something tells me you need more than just a place to dry off." William nodded, grateful, feeling a weight lift slightly from his chest. He and Kimberly didn't exchange many words, but their looks shared the relief and momentary safety that Elliot's gesture provided them. Elliot watched William and Kimberly as they drank the hot chocolate, their expressions softening a bit with the warmth of the beverage. Deciding to break the extending silence, Elliot pulled up a chair and sat next to their table. "So, how did you end up here on this rainy night? It's not common to see new faces around this area, especially on nights like this," Elliot began, trying to sound casual, but with a note of genuine curiosity in his voice. William looked at Kimberly, who was shyly smiling at Elliot. "We were trying to find a dry place to spend the night," William replied. "We don't know many places around here. We're very grateful for you letting us stay for a bit." Of course. No one should be out in weather like this," Elliot said, waving his hand as if the idea was absurd. "And you, little one, do you like hot chocolate?" he asked, turning to Kimberly with a warm smile. Kimberly nodded vigorously, her eyes lighting up. "It's my favorite," she said, holding the mug with both hands. "Ah, then we have something in common." Elliot laughed, looking at Kimberly with affection. "Do you like fairy tales? I have some books here that my granddaughter used to read." As Elliot got up to fetch a book, Kimberly turned to William, her eyes shining with the promise of a bedtime story. William smiled at her, his heart warmed by Elliot's simple act of kindness. Elliot returned with an illustrated book, handing it to Kimberly, who received it with enthusiasm. "This was my granddaughter's favorite. I think you'll like it too." "Thank you," Kimberly murmured, carefully flipping through the pages. The clock on the wall showed it was almost midnight when Elliot stood up, stretching his back. "Well, I need to close the restaurant and head home. It's been a long day," he said, yawning slightly. William, noticing the movement, started gathering their things, realizing how late it had gotten. "We'll go too. We don't want to be a bother," he said, preparing to leave with Kimberly. Elliot shook his head, stopping William with a raised hand. "No, please, stay. The weather is still terrible outside and there's no rush. You can stay until morning to get some rest. Tomorrow is a new day, and maybe it will be clearer and drier," Elliot offered with firm kindness. William hesitated, but concern for Kimberly and the logic of Elliot's offer convinced him. "Thank you so much, Elliot. Your generosity means a lot to us," he said, sincerely grateful. "Don't mention it," Elliot replied, smiling. "Well, I'm going to get ready to leave. Make yourselves at home, and if you need anything, call me." Pointing to a phone on the counter, he gave William a final nod before putting on his coat and hat. With the door closing behind Elliot, the restaurant became quiet, except for the soft sound of rain tapping against the windows. William and Kimberly settled in a cozy corner, improvising a small bed with some coats and cushions that Elliot had kindly provided. Kimberly, still holding the fairy tale book, looked at William expectantly. "Daddy, will you read to me before we sleep?" Kimberly asked, her eyes shining in the dim light that remained in the restaurant. "Of course, sweetie," William replied, taking the book and opening it to a random page. He began reading in a low voice, each word a gentle promise of escapism and adventure as the colorful illustrations danced in Kimberly's imagination. Outside, the rain softly hitting the roof provided the perfect accompaniment to the story. As the narrative unfolded, Kimberly's eyes grew heavy with fatigue, and she soon fell asleep, the book resting beside her. Watching his daughter sleep, William knew the situation was far from ideal, but at that moment, he felt an unexpected peace. At dawn, the first rays of sunlight began to break through the remnants of the previous night's storm clouds, casting a soft light over the restaurant's interior. William woke to the sound of keys and saw Elliot entering the restaurant, accompanied by a woman who carried a welcoming smile and a basket full of fresh bread. "Good morning," Elliot greeted with a renewed energy for the morning. "I hope you slept well. I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Catherine." Catherine approached with a gentle smile, extending her hand to William. "Good morning," she said, looking sympathetically at William and then at Kimberly, who was still yawning, trying to wake up completely. "Elliot told me about you. I'm glad you found shelter here in our restaurant." William shook Catherine's hand, grateful. "Thank you so much, Catherine. Your generosity is truly appreciated. We're grateful for letting us spend the night here." Catherine smiled, clearly touched by their situation. "We're here to help. Let's get a good breakfast ready to start the day. You and Kimberly must be hungry," she said, heading to the kitchen to begin preparations. Kimberly, now fully awake by the inviting aroma of fresh bread, smiled at Catherine. "Thank you," she said, her voice shy but sincere. Elliot and Catherine moved around the restaurant with an ease that only years of working together can bring. While Catherine set the table, Elliot started making coffee, and the comforting aroma began to fill the space. "You can use the restroom to freshen up if you'd like," offered Elliot, pointing to a small door at the back of the restaurant. "We'll try to make this day a bit easier for you." William thanked him again and took Kimberly to wash up and get ready for the day. When they returned, they found the table set with coffee, milk, bread, and some fruit. Catherine welcomed them back with a warm smile. Please sit down, invited Catherine. I hope you find some comfort here, at least for now. As they enjoyed breakfast, William observed the restaurant's atmosphere and the care with which Elliot and Catherine treated every detail of the place. "This is a very welcoming place," William commented, while spreading some butter on the fresh bread. "With such good food and a cozy environment, you must have many customers. They must surely love this place." Elliot, who had been smiling gently until then, let out a heavier sigh, exchanging a significant look with Catherine. "Actually," he began, pausing to choose his words carefully, "lately, things have been a bit difficult. Business has slowed down a lot. With so many new options out there and the economy being what it is, it's been a challenge to keep the restaurant open." Catherine, placing a supportive hand on Elliot's shoulder, added with a worried expression, "We're considering closing the doors. It's been tough, and we might not be able to sustain the restaurant much longer." William felt a pang of sadness upon hearing this. The generosity they had shown him and Kimberly, offering shelter and food, contrasted sharply with the difficulties they were facing. "I'm so sorry to hear that," he said sincerely. "This is a wonderful place, and it would be a great loss for everyone if it closed." Elliot nodded, appreciating the compliment. "We've been trying to think of solutions, but so far, nothing seems sufficient to turn things around." At that moment, an idea began to form in William's mind. Despite his own series of challenges, he remembered his days as an advertising professional. "Maybe I can help," he suggested hesitantly, aware of his current situation, but excited about the possibility of contributing. "I used to work in advertising before all this. If you're open to it, I could try some ideas to help attract more customers. I don't have much to offer, but I'd like to help however I can." Elliot and Catherine looked at each other, surprised and curious about the proposal. "You would do that?" Elliot asked, a glimmer of hope shining in his eyes. "It would be wonderful to have your help, William. Really, any new ideas would be very welcome right now." "Absolutely," William affirmed, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Let's brainstorm something that could really make a difference." After breakfast, Elliot closed the restaurant to the public so they could focus on the meeting. They moved some tables to the center of the restaurant to create a collective workspace. With Kimberly beside him, flipping through a storybook, William asked Elliot for paper and pencils. "Do you have paper and pencils? I need to sketch some things to explain the ideas better," William requested. Elliot promptly went to the counter and returned with the materials. Sitting together with sheets of paper spread out on the table, William began to sketch. "First, we need to identify the restaurant's strengths. This will help us highlight what truly matters in the campaigns." "Of course," Elliot agreed, leaning in to see William's drawings. "What do you suggest?" "Well, the cozy atmosphere and homemade food are definitely strengths," William began, drawing a simple diagram with these features at the center. "Additionally, the restaurant's history and its connection to the community can be very appealing." Catherine intervened. "We also have special dishes that are unique to our restaurant, like Catherine's stew, that our long-time customers love." "Perfect. That's a unique selling point we can capitalize on. Stories about family recipes and unique dishes have a strong emotional appeal," William noted, marking each point on the paper. Continuing with the meeting, William proposed some marketing strategies. "We can use social media to share these stories and show the behind-the-scenes of the restaurant. Photos of dishes, short videos of you in the kitchen, maybe even some live events here, like music nights or themed dinners." Elliot, intrigued, asked about the logistics of these ideas. "How would these live events work? Do we need a lot of investment?" "We can start small," William explained. "A local musician, a special menu for the event. The idea is to create an experience that people want to share. As for the investment, We can use community resources to help keep costs low." Catherine thoughtfully added, "And what about promotions, like a bring a friend discount, that could encourage our regular customers to bring new faces?" "Excellent." William sketched another section on the paper for promotions. "Encouraging customers to talk about the restaurant is one of the best strategies for a business like ours." They spent the next hour discussing details, fine-tuning ideas, and considering every aspect of the plan. William drafted advertising campaigns focused on the history and authenticity of Main Street Cafe, while Elliot and Catherine provided insights into what their customers valued. Concluding the meeting, William looked at his notes and sketches spread across the table. "I think we have a good initial plan here. With these actions, we can start to see a change." Elliot reached out, touching the papers with a hopeful smile. "William, I don't know how to thank you. You've brought new light to us here." "We're in this together," William replied, smiling back. "Let's make this place flourish again." After outlining the plans to revitalize Main Street Cafe, Elliot and Catherine exchanged glances, clearly impressed by William's innovative ideas and advertising expertise. The sheets of paper in front of them were filled with diagrams and notes, reflecting a creative and strategic vision for the restaurant. Catherine, with a mix of admiration and curiosity, broke the silence. "William, your ideas are incredible. You clearly have a talent for this," she said, pausing for a moment before continuing with respectful delicacy. "Forgive me for asking, but how did someone as intelligent and capable as you end up on the street?" The question made William momentarily lose the enthusiastic sparkle in his eyes. He looked away at Kimberly, who was distractedly playing with a pencil, unaware of the depth of the conversation. His gaze held a veiled sadness, the memory of better days that had abruptly faded away. "It's a long story," William began, his voice low, trying to mask the pain the memories brought. Elliot, sensing the change in William's mood, quickly intervened. "You don't have to share anything if you're not comfortable. We're already more than grateful for what you're helping us achieve here." William took a deep breath, considering Elliot's words. After a brief moment, he lifted his head, facing both Elliot and Catherine with renewed determination. "Thank you, Elliot. But if we're going to be business partners, and more importantly, if we're going to be friends, you deserve to know everything. It's only fair." Catherine nodded supportively, and Elliot agreed, both prepared to listen and understand the story William was ready to share. William took a deep breath, preparing to reveal the events that had brought him to that moment. "Well, I was born in a small town in the countryside, where the houses were separated by dirt roads and everyone knew each other by name. My parents were kind-hearted people, known in the community for their willingness to always help others. I grew up listening to stories about the importance of being honest and hard-working, values they made sure to practice every day. When I was younger, I discovered a passion for the art of storytelling and how words can influence and inspire people. This led me to choose advertising as my career. With my parents' support, I moved to the big city to study at the university. It was a huge change for me, leaving a town where everyone knew each other for a place where no one seemed to have time to look around. At the university, I immersed myself in my studies and fell in love with the creative energy that advertising demanded. It was there that I met Patricia in one of the graphic design classes I decided to take as an elective. She was in the visual arts program and had a unique perspective on how art can communicate in ways words cannot. She was vibrant, full of ideas, and had a laugh that could light up the entire room. We connected almost immediately, discovering a chemistry both personal and professional. Patricia had this incredible ability to see beauty in the simplest things, and I was always looking for a story to tell. Together we started working on class projects, and soon we were planning our life together. The years we spent at university were some of the best of my life. It was a time of possibilities, dreams, and plans for the future. William paused for a moment, his voice tinged with nostalgia as he recalled those happy and hopeful days before continuing his story. After Patricia and I graduated, we began building our life together in the city. We found a small apartment, nothing too fancy, but it was our home, a place where we could dream together. While I immersed myself in the world of advertising, working at a respected agency, Patricia began to establish herself as a visual artist, participating in exhibitions and gaining recognition for her unique work. Evenings at home were our refuge. After hectic days, we would return to our home where we shared simple dinners, talked about our days, and planned for the future. Patricia had a gift for transforming any space with small touches of art and color, making our home always inspiring. My career in advertising was on the rise. I quickly gained a reputation for my innovative and effective campaigns, and with each successful project, I felt closer to achieving the dreams Patricia and I had planned together. She, in turn, continued to explore new forms of artistic expression, each exhibition more impressive than the last. It was during this period of growth and success that Patricia discovered she was pregnant. The news came as a new breath of joy in our lives. We were ecstatic at the idea of welcoming a new life, a new member into our little family. We prepared everything with love, from the baby's room to the smallest details of each room in the house. Kimberly's birth was a moment of pure magic. Holding my daughter in my arms for the first time was an experience that transformed everything I knew about love and responsibility. Patricia and I looked at each other, with Kimberly in our arms, and I knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. We promised to give her all the love and support, to raise her in a home filled with creativity and lots of love. The first few months were a mix of sleepless nights and moments of pure happiness. Every smile, every new discovery of Kimberly's strengthened the bond between us and filled our hearts with hope and joy. Together, we faced the challenges of being new parents, learning and growing with our little one. William paused, a sad smile crossing his face as he remembered those precious moments before preparing to continue the narrative of his life. However, as he prepared to continue the story, there was a visible change in his expression. The previously animated face now shadowed by darker memories. Our little happy world began to crumble on a cold autumn night. Patricia was coming back from an exhibition when her car was hit by a driver who lost control on the wet road. The accident was severe. She was rushed to the hospital with multiple injuries. That phone call I received while waiting for her at home with Kimberly in my arms. It was the most terrifying moment of my life. William paused, gathering strength to continue. The following months were a constant struggle. Patricia remained in critical condition for weeks and underwent several surgeries. The prognosis was uncertain, and each day was an emotional roller coaster. I spent most of my time at the hospital, alternating between caring for Kimberly and being by Patricia's side. To cover the rapidly mounting medical expenses, I used up all our savings, sold our most valuable belongings, and took out loans. I didn't care about anything else but saving Patricia. Nothing else mattered, but despite all the efforts, the best doctors and treatments, Patricia, she didn't make it. His voice faltered a bit, and he needed a moment to compose himself before continuing. Patricia passed away a few weeks after the accident, leaving an immense void in our lives. I was devastated, and Kimberly was too young to fully understand, but she felt her mother's absence. From that point on, everything began to fall apart quickly. Without Patricia, and with huge debts due to medical expenses, my savings were depleted. I had to make tough choices, cut costs wherever I could, But it soon became clear we couldn't keep the apartment. I was forced to quit my job because I needed to take care of Kimberly, and with that, our financial situation became unsustainable. We came to rely on the kindness of friends and temporary shelters until eventually we found ourselves living on the streets. Each day was a struggle to keep Kimberly safe and healthy, to find food, a warm place to sleep. It was a painful fall from a life full of promise and joy to facing the harsh reality of homelessness. After the sorrowful account, silence hung over the group, each processing the magnitude of the adversity faced by William and Kimberly. Catherine, whose eyes had filled with empathetic tears, was the first to break the silence, her voice laden with sadness and compassion. "William, I'm so sorry for asking about your past. I had no idea what you both had been through," Catherine said softly, reaching out across the table towards William in a gesture of comfort. William offered a slight smile, nodding in acknowledgement. "It's okay, Catherine. Talking about it still hurts, but I've come to terms with it. Now my focus is on creating a better future for Kimberly and, of course, helping here at the restaurant. I'm really grateful for this opportunity." Elliot, hearing the determination and hope in William's voice, felt inspired and comforted by the resilience of his new friend. "William, I'm sure that with you and Kimberly here, we'll turn Main Street Cafe into a great success. I'm very happy to have you with us." "We're all in this together now," Elliot added with an encouraging smile. "And together, we'll make this place not just a prosperous business, but a welcoming place for all our customers." William nodded, appreciative of the support Elliot and Catherine were offering. The prospect of a new direction in his life brought a spark to his eyes. With Kimberly playing happily nearby, unaware of the complexities of the adult world, William felt a wave of determination. He was ready to start this new chapter, working alongside Elliot and Catherine. Energized by the conversation and sharing of stories, William, Elliot, and Catherine began implementing the plan to revitalize Main Street Cafe. The morning was busy, with the restaurant coming to life as each idea was put into action. William started with the marketing implementation by creating profiles on major social media platforms. "Elliot, Catherine, we need a strong online presence. Let's start with Instagram and Facebook. We can post photos of the dishes, videos of events and special promotions." Elliot, a bit unfamiliar with the digital world, looked at William, curious. "How does this really help bring more people in?" William smiled, picking up his phone. "Look, when we post online, we reach a lot of people at once. It's like having a giant megaphone. But it's a megaphone that allows conversations, you know? People can like, comment, and share what they enjoy." Catherine, understanding the concept, added, "And I can help with the photos. My niece gave me some tips on smartphone photography." "Perfect, Catherine. Quality photos make all the difference," William agreed. They spent the morning taking pictures of the restaurant's most popular dishes, with Catherine arranging each scene with an artistic touch. After setting up the social media profiles, the trio discussed organizing themed events. "How about we start with a live music night? We can invite local musicians who play various styles. This could attract different groups of people," suggested William. Elliot liked the idea. "That sounds great. We have space outside that could be perfect for small shows, and music can really liven up the place." Catherine, always attentive to details, commented, "We'll need a comfortable space for the customers. We can rearrange some tables and create a cozier atmosphere with lighting and themed decorations. I can reach out to some musicians I know. Many would be happy to have a place to perform," William added, already jotting down tasks in his notebook. Finally, they discussed promotions. "We should consider something like bring a friend and get a discount on dinner. This could encourage our regular customers to bring new visitors," William explained. Elliot nodded, thoughtful. "That could really work. People like to feel they're getting something extra." Catherine, with a practical look, suggested, "We can start this promotion on the night of the music event. That way, people have an extra incentive to come and bring friends." William noted everything meticulously. "Great. So we have a plan for the next few weeks. I'll create the events on Facebook and start the online promotion today." The day of the event arrived quickly, and the excitement was palpable among William, Elliot, and Catherine as they prepared Main Street Cafe for the live music night. The restaurant, which had already begun to show signs of renewal with increased social media interactions, was especially vibrant that day. Early in the morning, Elliot and William began reorganizing the outdoor space of the restaurant to accommodate the musical performance. "We'll need enough space for the musicians and also for the customers to enjoy the music comfortably," William explained, as they moved tables and chairs to create an improvised stage and seating area. Catherine was in charge of the decoration. She chose string lights to hang around the space, giving the environment a cozy and inviting atmosphere. Plants and small flower arrangements were placed around the tables to add a touch of nature. "This is looking beautiful, Catherine. It's going to be a wonderful night," Elliot commented, admiring his wife's work. Catherine smiled, satisfied with the effect. "I hope the customers feel the same. I want this place to be full of life, like in the old days." Meanwhile, William was doing a final check of the sound equipment they had rented for the event. "Everything seems to be working perfectly. We'll have great sound quality for the musicians," he said, testing the microphones and speakers. He also set up a small stand where Catherine could sell some snacks and drinks during the event, ensuring that service would be quick and efficient. "This will keep everyone happy and fed while they enjoy the music," William explained. Elliot gathered the restaurant staff for a quick meeting before the event started. "I want everyone to be at their best tonight. This is a great opportunity to show what Main Street Cafe has to offer. Let's make sure every customer feels welcome and well taken care of." The team, motivated by Elliot's enthusiasm, nodded and promised to do their best. Each member understood the importance of the event, not only for increasing sales, but also for reaffirming the restaurant's place in the community. As the sun began to set, the first guests arrived, greeted by Catherine's warm smile and the inviting atmosphere she and William had created. The carefully selected music by William was already playing in the background, setting the scene as people settled in. William, Elliot, and Catherine exchanged looks of complicity and excitement. They knew they had done everything they could to ensure the success of the night. Now, they just had to wait and see how the community would respond to the new Main Street Cafe. "I think we're going to have a memorable night," William said to the others, feeling a mix of nervousness and anticipation as the first chords of live music began to fill the air. With everything ready and the event in full swing, they moved among the guests, making sure everyone was enjoying the experience. As the night progressed, Main Street Cafe was filled with the sounds of live music, laughter, and conversations. The local musicians invited by William brought contagious energy, switching between genres that ranged from smooth jazz to lively samba, drawing enthusiastic applause from the guests with each new song. The atmosphere, carefully decorated by Catherine, provided an almost magical ambience that perfectly complemented the music. The guests, delighted with the restaurant's transformation, didn't hold back on the compliments. With each dish served or drink brought to the table, they expressed their satisfaction and promised to return. Elliot, seeing the positive reaction, felt increasingly confident about the restaurant's future. William, observing everything with a keen eye, was already thinking about adjustments and new ideas for the upcoming events. As the last musical set ended, the applause was long and warm. Elliot, seizing the moment of joy, thanked everyone for coming and reinforced the invitation to return on other nights. The guests, many already feeling like part of the restaurant family, promised to do just that. With the restaurant finally empty, but still echoing the energy of the event, the trio began the task of cleaning and organizing everything. Despite the physical exhaustion, their spirits were light, and their conversations revolved around the night's success. "I don't know how to thank you both," Elliot said to William and Catherine as they put away the last chairs. "Tonight really reignited the spark in this place." Catherine, wiping down the tables, smiled at William. "And to think it all started with your ideas and a bit of hope. Truly, William, you've brought something special to us." William, helping to roll up the sound equipment cables, felt a deep gratitude for being there. "We've just begun. If we keep this up, I'm sure there are many more good nights ahead." After finishing the cleanup, they sat down to rest for a moment, exchanging tired but satisfied smiles. Elliot brought out a bottle of wine he had been saving for a special occasion and poured 3 glasses. "I think this is the perfect occasion," he declared, raising his glass in a toast. "To Main Street Cafe, our new family, and the bright future that awaits us." William and Catherine raised their glasses in response, the sound of the toast ringing out as a seal of renewed promises and hopes. The night ended with laughter and plans for the next event, each of them aware of the potential the future now seemed to promise. In the following months, Main Street Cafe flourished like never before. The live music nights became a weekly event that everyone in the city eagerly anticipated. The social media campaigns, meticulously managed by William, attracted new customers who, enchanted by the welcoming atmosphere and delicious food, quickly became regulars. Catherine, with her artistic touch, continued to transform the space with decorations that changed with each season, creating an always inviting atmosphere. William, recognized for his creativity and dedication, was invited by Elliot and Catherine to become a partner in the restaurant. With tears in his eyes and a heart full of gratitude, William accepted. It was more than a job for him. It was a chance to rebuild his life and offer his daughter Kimberly a stable and happy future. Kimberly, who was growing up happy and healthy alongside her new family, loved helping Catherine in the kitchen and already showed signs of inheriting her mother's artistic talent. She was beloved by all the regular customers and enjoyed drawing special menus for the events, adding a personal touch that the customers adored. The restaurant became more than a business. It was a community gathering spot, a place where people came not just to eat, but to gather, share stories, and celebrate life. The hardships of William's past and the early struggles of the restaurant had become distant memories, now replaced by stories of success and overcoming adversity. Elliot and Catherine, seeing the restaurant thrive and become a cornerstone of the community, felt deep satisfaction and gratitude. They had not only saved their business, but had gained an extended and dedicated family that included William and Kimberly. On a special night, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the revitalization of Main Street Cafe, the restaurant was filled with friends, family, and community supporters. Elliot made a toast, his voice choked with emotion. "To all of you who made this dream possible, our deepest thanks. And to William, whose creativity helped us rekindle the flame of this place, we are eternally grateful." William, looking at all the smiling faces, and then at Kimberly, who was clapping enthusiastically beside Catherine, felt a wave of happiness. He knew that he had finally found his place, and together they had built something wonderful not just for themselves, but for the entire community. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give a like, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Until the next story.